Chapter 2. Reply of Abamon the Teacher to the Letter of Porphyry to Anibo. Section 1. Introduction. Hermes, the patron of literature, was rightly considered of old to be a god common to all the priests, and the one presiding over the genuine learning relating to the gods, one and the same among all. Hence, our predecessors were wont to ascribe to him their discoveries in wisdom, and to name all their respective works books of Hermes. If therefore we participate in this god, of the measure which has fallen to us and become possible to us, thou dost well to propose these questions in regard to the divine sciences to the priests as to friends for an accurate solution. Having good reason, therefore, for considering the letter sent by thee to Anibo, my pupil, as having been written to myself, I will answer thee truly in regard to the matters about which thou hast inquired. For it would not be becoming that Pythagoras, Plato, Democritus, Eudoxus, and many others of the old Greeks should have obtained competent instruction from the temple scribes of their own time, but that thou, who art contemporary with us, and having the same disposition as they, should be turned away by those now living and recognized as public teachers. Footnote 1. Hermes is here the same as the Egyptian divinity Thoth or Tahuti, the god of learning and medicine. He was regarded as the scribe or recorder who registered the actions of the dead and living, so that they were judged out of those things which were written in the books. He was also the revealer of the divine will to men. His name Tahuti signifies thrice great, or very great, or Trismegistos, Greek. Footnote 2. The priests in Egypt consisted of many orders, including those who performed the rites, the learned profession which includes prophets, philosophers, poets, authors, physicians, artists, master mechanics, and also embalmers of the dead. Footnote 3. This form of expression extends through this entire book. Though hardly familiar to us, it was formerly common in philosophic writings. The gods being spiritual essences, it was very properly considered that their worshippers would participate in their substance as we partake of the air that we inhale. In this way, their powers and virtues were supposed to be imparted to the recipients. This treatise accordingly mentions the gifts received by the persons initiated at the telestic or theurgic rites, as a participation of the gods. The fact that they represent or personify qualities rather than individualities makes this mode of speaking eminently proper. Footnote 4. In archaic periods, the worship and literature of every people was exclusive. Every repast being accompanied by religious ceremonies, the Egyptians would not eat with foreigners. Ashmes II broke through this restriction and made treaties of friendship and commerce with several Grecian and Ionian states. By his command, and at the instance of Polycrates of Samos, a tyrant king, Pythagoras was admitted to instruction at the temples, and formally initiated into the sacerdotal caste. After the Persian conquest, others resorted to Egypt for similar purposes. Among them, Plato, Democritus, Archimedes, Chrysippus, Euripides. Accordingly, I myself engage thus in the present discussion. Thou, if thou dost so choose, art at liberty to consider the person who is now writing to thee as the same individual to whom thou hast sent thy letter. If, however, it shall seem to thee more proper, then regard the individual who is discoursing with thee in writing to be one or some other prophet of the Egyptians, for this is not a matter worth differing about. Or, as I still think a better way, let it pass unnoticed whether the person speaking is of inferior or superior rank, and direct the attention solely to the things that are uttered, thus arousing the understanding to eagerness simply as to whether that which is said to be true or false. In the first place, let us take the subjects separately in order to ascertain the scope and quality of the problems which are now proposed for discussion. Next, let us examine in detail the theories respecting divine matters from which thy doubts were conceived, and make a statement of them, as to the sources of knowledge by which they are to be investigated. Some which are badly jumbled together require to be taken apart, while others have relation to the divine cause, through which everything exists, and so are readily apprehended. Others, which we might put forward according to a certain plan of exhibiting contradictory views, draw out the judgment in both directions, and there are likewise some which demand from us to explain the whole of the initiatory rites. Such being the facts, our answers are to be taken from many places and from different sources of knowledge. Some of these introduced fundamental principles from the traditions which the sages of the Chaldeans delivered. Others derive support from the doctrines which the prophets of the Egyptian temples teach. And some of them follow closely the speculations of the philosophers and elicit the conclusions which belong to them. And now, there are some of these which involve an unbecoming dispute from diverse notions that are not worthy of a word, and others that have their origin from prejudices common to human beings. All these, therefore, are to be disposed of in various ways by themselves, and are in many ways connected with one another. Hence, on account of all these things, there is some discussion necessary for the directing of them properly.